music is all around us. It is the universal language. It evokes many feelings and is something to be shared and celebrated. You have found a place where all kinds of music will be celebrated. So welcome. You are tuned in to the Zen Sessions, presented by Here to Zen magazine.
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Richie, how you going?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Yeah, good. I'll start by the obvious question of when did you and Adrian start putting ideas together? Like, was it just like a jam or a deliberate decision?
Well, I've known Adrian for about, 9-10 years, something like that. And our relationship kind of, evolved into a friendship. And when he would come to California, he has a house out here, and they would have little get-togethers, invite different people over. A lot of musicians would go. And he has a spot in the house where all the guitars are set up, and we'd go in there and just kind of jam and mess around and sing, play cover tunes, what have you. And in more recent times, someone suggested that he and I try to write something together. And so it was like perfect timing. It just always takes like someone to just suggest something, and then you have the time to do it. And that's what happened. So we started getting together, throwing ideas around. And then we hit on a few things that we liked. And I think Running was the first, what I would call the first song that we actually, came up with together. And then from there, it just turned into what it is now.
Okay, and, with everything that's gone on in the last sort of 12 to 18 months, were you able to do it all together in a room, or was a lot of just sending files backwards and forwards?
No. We were together. None of this madness was going on, back when we were in Turks and Caicos. That was about a year ago. We were down there and recording. So we didn't have any of this kind of craziness. And the original plan was, once we knew we were making a record, we thought, well, let's try and put it out, sometime in April or March of next year. And we picked that because of all of our other commitments and, timing, schedules, what have you. And thankfully, we kept the dates. So now we were looking at a release here coming up in a few weeks. But sadly, we lost the tour dates because our plan was to get out there and play live. So now we can't. Nobody can really do that. But we're lucky because we were able to get this thing get this all together before all this chaos happened. So to answer your question, yeah, we were in a room together.
Okay, and I'm familiar with your vocals and your guitar playing. Not really familiar with Adrian as a vocalist, but I found it really interesting how well your voices sort of meshed, and especially things like the harmony vocals and things like that. Do you feel that style of music is a bit lost today, like harmony vocals, harmony solos, and how did you work all that out?
Well, as far as the writing goes, it was very much, and I've said this before, it's like almost like a tennis match, but you're not trying to beat anybody out. You're just trying to get a good volley going. So he'd come in with an idea, or I'd come in with an idea, and then we'd, the other guy would develop it to another point, and then once he got stuck, the other guy would take it to another point. And so it really worked well. And so to decide who sang what or who played what, it was kind of built into the writing process. So, for example, Taking My Chances, Adrian had the riff. We used that as a verse, or that basic, a version of that as a verse. He had that melody. I had the idea for the bridge, and then that led to the chorus that we did together. So, it was just really like this kind of ping pong, back and forth kind of mentality, and where usually the guy that thought of the idea would sing it. Occasionally it was the other way around, like Glory Road. I remember he had that concept, and then he gave me that melody to try and sing, and it was a little different. I kind of adopted a different way to do it, and then that became a song. So it was just this kind of natural, why don't you try this? Let me try something here, that kind of thing.
Okay, and the video for Scars, I think, drops tomorrow. When did you get that all put together?
That was a more recent endeavor. We did the video for Taking My Chances, which was, planned out. We were going to do a video for a first single, just to let everybody know that we were out there. And then we were thinking, well, let's do something else kind of special to raise the awareness or keep the interest going for the record. And Scars is a song that, in all these interviews I've been doing, that's one that people seem to point out. It seems to be a favorite for the guys that heard the record, or the people that heard the record. So we thought, well, let's try to put a visual together. Now, originally we thought we'd just do something simple. And then one thing led to another, and now we've got a full-fledged video for it that we really like. We think it really represents the song well. So that, like you said, that'll come out tomorrow. And we'll see, I think it's a good representation of the direction of what we're doing. Those two songs, I think, set it up nice. So, ultimately, we want to get the record out and, hopefully get the same response that we have. We're excited about it, and hopefully people feel the same way.
You talk about favorite songs. I keep going back to You Don't Know Me. It's a pretty epic song. Is there a particular story behind that one?
No, not necessarily. A lot of times you're writing, sometimes you write from things that have happened to you directly, but other times you don't question where things come from. So we didn't sit down and say, hey, I'm going to write about, some issue that happened a couple of years ago or what have you. It just kind of came out. And honestly, when you get an idea that you think is strong enough that it's worthy of a song or being considered as a song, I don't always like to question where it comes from, because then, maybe it won't come again, so to speak. So, but, that's interesting you point that song out. That I like that. That it's a very moody song and has a bit of depth to it. So that's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, it's got some great builds in it. And, you talk about wondering where stuff comes from. Is that sort of, to sidetrack it a bit, what you sort of did with 50 for 50? You just sat and whatever came out, came out?
50 for 50 was a different animal than anything I've done, because initially I started out with the idea of just recording some songs, often, I never sit down and say, hey, I'm going to make an album. I don't think I've done that in my early years when I signed recording contracts. But in the last 10, 15 years, I just write stuff, and then at some point I've got enough of it that I think, oh, this would fit together, let me release it. But 50 for 50, I had a batch of material that would have been a normal record. And then I was on the road, and I was thinking to myself, man, I've got so many songs that I never finished. And a couple, maybe, 7 or 8 that I never released that are done. And I thought, I wonder, and, I'm thinking, I'm getting older, I'm turning 50. And I'm thinking, well, I wonder if I could put this together and finish this material in time for my birthday, like in my 50th birthday. And just for myself, more than anything, just to finish the material. So it's not sitting around on tape and hard drive and what have you. So while I was on the road, I started archiving. So I got that song, that's done. I got this thing, all I got to do is finish the chorus. And I got this, it's a cool riff, that's all it is. So when I came home, I started working on it. I actually started working on it when I was on tour. I was writing lyrics when I was on tour. And then somewhere along the line, I got to like 35, 36 songs finished. And they were done. I'm like, oh, and it's only, September. And I thought, okay, well, I think I can get there. I think, So the idea was that, I wasn't going to rush anything. Had I only had 42 songs finished by my 50th birthday, then I would have never made a record called 50 for 50. But by the time I had to go back on tour again, which was November for South America, the record was finished, and I handed it in to my mastering guy, and it was done. But that was a very different animal. And some of those songs are, were 10 years, 20 years in the making. I mean, literally, there were songs that were on, that were in progress from as far back as 2001. So, that was a different animal.
Wow. That's great. Now back to the actual current album. You're playing drums on 5 tracks, and I know you've done that on your solo stuff before. Has there ever been a time where you found it difficult juggling bass, guitar, vocals, production, drums?
No, because there's never been a juggle. For me, it's all the same thing. So you have to look at it. Like some guys might look at it that they might say, like, I'm a guitar player, and I'll play a little of this, a little of that. But in my brain, I look at myself as a recording artist. Like I'm someone that I write a song, create something that didn't exist before from wherever it comes from, who knows. Like all the other guys do that are songwriters. So I'm not special by any means, but I write a song, and then I go in the studio and figure out how do I get this stuff that's in my head to come out of the speakers. So if that means that I program a drum beat, or if that means I got to play a drum beat, or if that means I got to call a guy that's a specialist in a certain style because I want a certain feel, I'll do all of those things. So, all of those things are on the table. And so in this situation, we started, working on this, and I would get behind the drums just to create something to work against, a groove or a beat. And then oftentimes I'd just play like maybe, 20 seconds or something, and then make a loop out of it. And then we'd build the track, and then I could go back and do a proper performance. But what was happening and how I ended up playing drums on it, before we knew it, we had several songs finished, and it just so happened by coincidence, by nature of how we were working, I played the drums. And then it got to a point where we were like, well, we better call some people here, because pretty soon it's just going to be you and I. So then Adrian said, let's get Nico to come on down and do something. And then I figured, well, I'll call my guy. I called Tal Bergman, who I've played with for many years on and off. And so that's how we did it.
Great. And is there a particular part, guitar line, anything on the album that Adrian's done that you just, sit back and go, wow, I can't believe that? Like a favorite?
Well, yeah, there's a few things, and a lot of it is, one of the things that I realized, that's something that's very special and interesting, is his sense of not only melody but counterpoint, which obviously counterpoint is a form of melody. But I would have these situations where the song would be done almost, at least in my mind, I thought it was finished. And then he'd say, wait a minute, I got this other idea. And then he'd start playing like a counterpoint line. Now, you can hear it in the song Scars, for example. There's a line that comes in after the vocal, the call and answer vibe. In Taking My Chances, he has some kind of line that he comes up with. And to me, those kind of things, that's what really sets it off. I mean, there's kind of ideas that I wouldn't have thought to do that. I've done stuff like that before, counterpoint lines here and there. But in that instance, in that moment on that song, where I would think, okay, this is done, and he'd be like, no, wait, don't put it away yet. I got this one thing. And then he'd come up with some real clever, simple thing that would just fit right in with the drums and the vocal and just kind of pop out of the mix. And so that was one of the things that really, after it was all done, I came back and realized, wow, this wouldn't have sounded like that if we weren't, if he wouldn't have thought of that, that kind of thing.
Sure. You mentioned before that you did have tour dates planned. When you get the chance to go back out, who is going to be part of the live band?
Well, we didn't have the dates locked. We were planning on putting the dates up, but we didn't. Well, once we knew, we've known now as long as anybody that there wasn't going to be touring, so we stopped worrying about it. But at some point when things open up and it's clear that it's safe to get out there and be in a club or a venue or a theater or wherever we're going to play, then we're going to have to sit down and decide, who we're going to get. But, for now, obviously the focus is on, getting the record out, and that sort of thing.
Cool. And can we expect any more of your famous isolation videos to accompany anything with the album?
Well, we've got, we did the video for Taking My Chances. Now, you already know, because you're in the different time zone, that we've got the Scars is up next. And, we'll see. We'll have to see. Those things really just kind of happen. Even I did a couple things. I did a video when the quarantine first happened for one of my tunes, As You Are, which was off the 50 for 50 record. And, my wife and I were bored one night and pulled the camera out and said, let's try something. So, those kind of things just come out sort of randomly, I guess you'd say. So I don't have any plans for much of anything, but we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be something coming.
Great. And do you see anything in the future for Winery Dogs before I let you go?
Yeah, we've been talking about it. We were talking heavy about it, at the end of 2019. We were talking about it a lot. And then, everybody got sidetracked. And the thing with that situation is to make what would be considered a Winery Dog record, we all have to be in a room together somewhere. And, we're spread out. I'm on the West Coast, Mike's on the East Coast, and Billy is, sort of in the middle there. So, we got to get to a situation where everybody's comfortable to fly and agree where we're going to go, this and that. All stuff that's, easy, it's doable, it'll happen. It's just a matter of timing. So, but the answer is, we definitely want to do something.
Excellent. And as we finish up today, any final words for all your friends in Australia?
Well, hopefully at some point I can get back there. I've only been there one time, and it was a great time, a lot of fun and great shows. But I would like to get back there again, hopefully with Adrian. So let's see what happens here.
Perfect, Richie. We'll let you go for the day, and we look forward to the release of the album very, very soon.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Richie. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Zen Sessions presented by Here to Zen magazine. If you are listening to us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. If you are listening on one of the podcast platforms, please subscribe there. And don't forget to follow Here to Zen magazine on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.